got this topic about insurance, which is really important for everyone to have. I was going to say a basic understanding, but I think it's more than a basic understanding, isn't it?
It is a bit. But if you've got a basic understanding, then you're better off with no than you are if you have no understanding at all.
Yeah. So you just said, just as we were in the break, about another type of insurance, which is really, really important to got to get rid of that. Just yeah. So you're looking at having that understanding of insurance, but you mentioned an insurance which was cyber insurance.
Cyber insurance, yep.
What is that?
So that is, it's probably more aimed at businesses because it's one of the fastest growing risks for Australian businesses now. But there is also now a product. One of the major cyber insurers has just released a product, which is a personal lines product. So for your mum and dad, your household type policy, if you get a cyber attack there, or you get hacked, then there's some cover in place for that. So, but for a business, there's a whole range of things that can happen. We're all used to the cyber attack being you log on in the morning, you get a blank screen and you get a message that pops up from the hacker that says, we've locked up your system, please pay X amount of money in Bitcoin to this account.
How many people would do that? How many people would go and pay that?
If you're a business owner and you need your computer system to run your business, some will, some won't. Depends on,
how desperate you are.
How desperate you are, whether you're insured, whether you've got an IT person who can resolve that for you, or depends on a whole range of things. And again, some people see that and panic and pay the money.
Oh my God.
And others go, no, I'm not paying these guys a cent because it's all rubbish. I'm going to sort this out a different way. So you can actually insure yourself now for that cyber attack. So there's a whole range of things that can happen. Is that they can lock up your system. So you call in your insurance company, and I would recommend that you use your insurance company because they deal with it all the time. Don't try and resolve it yourself. Use your insurer to do it because that's what you pay your insurances for.
Right.
But they can find where the hacker got in, and they can seal up. It's a bit like a hole in a fence. If you're farming, you'll stop the sheep getting through the hole in the fence. You patch up the hole in the fence. Your cyber people do the same thing. They patch up the hole in your system so that the hacker can't get in again.
How do they get in the first place?
Well, they're tricky, and it's a game of cat and mouse. So, the whole game of deceit has always been around. It's always been in society, that trickery and finding a way to get one up on somebody without them realising has always been there. It's just now that it's moved online.
It's really interesting. I had an experience the other day where someone wanted to friend me. And then I got a message from somebody to say, don't friend this person because they're a hacker.
Mm.
And it was really interesting because they portrayed themselves as being a female when they were actually a male.
Yeah. Yep. Mm. And the online, you don't actually know who you're dealing with.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So your insurer they'll work through that. They will pay for any damage that sort of occurs to your files and restoration of your files. If you then have a customer issue in terms of
privacy,
has my data been leaked? Yeah, privacy. Has my data been leaked? It's now mandatory for some businesses of a certain size to actually, if they suffer a breach, they have to mandatory to report it to the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner.
Yeah.
So again, that takes time and money, time and effort. Your insurance company can help you through all of that. You then have a PR problem, potentially, in that if people believe you've been hacked, then they may not want to deal with you. So it's about you can hire a PR consultant to actually help you through managing you through that crisis. So there's a whole range of, and if somebody else believes that their data's been compromised as a result of, you've got information on them because you transact business with them, so you need a certain amount of information about that business to be able to transact with them. If they believe that data has been compromised and they decide they want to sue you for it, then that can be a problem for you as well. So there's a whole range of things that can come out of a cyber attack. So, and it's, I see you laughing.
I'm scared.
But the thing about it is that most businesses will go, I'm just a little fish. If they're going to go and hack someone, they'll go and hack the big boys.
But not necessarily.
Well, you've got to remember that the big boys have got a budget and the big boys have got resources. So they make themselves a very hard target. So the hacker who's sitting at home in his lounge room in wherever he might be in the world, she might be in the world, they will go, if I go and target the big boys, it's a pretty, they've got burglar alarms and deadlocks and all that kind of stuff that we're used to in the physical world. I'll
firewalls.
I'll go and target somebody who's not quite so well organised, who doesn't quite have the same protection, and I'll just, because they're a softer target. So,
and people have databases, and that's absolutely a privacy issue. And if someone hacks into your database and takes all the names and contacts these people and all that sort of stuff, there can be lots of repercussions from that.
Absolutely, yeah, it can be huge. The other favourite trick is, we're all used to that. We all picture a cyber attack as you log in the morning and there's your blank screen and a note from the hacker saying, please pay the ransom.
I don't picture that.
What they actually do now, their favourite trick now, is that they'll break into your system and they don't even tell you that they're there, but they watch your email traffic go back and forward. They watch everything that's going on. They start to learn about what your company does, where you go, who the people are, and I've seen instances where they've seen invoices. They go, right, there's a job here nearly finished. This is a sizable job. All of a sudden, an invoice gets sent. The hacker will catch it, change the bank account details on the invoice to their bank account details, put it back into the system and send it again. Nobody is any the wiser. So the party who's been invoiced pays the invoice in good faith, thinking it's all correct. Money never turns up for the people who sent the invoice. Sooner or later,
there's some conversation going.
30 days, there's a conversation about, hey, you haven't paid your bill. Yeah, we paid it. And it's not until they track back through and go, we paid it this bank account. Well, they're not our bank account details. These are the bank account details on the invoice. Then they work out they've been hacked.
Oh, but they could have been hacked by many thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars.
Yep. So they catch that invoice. So the two that I've seen were both, the claim started at $150,000.
Oh, really? So what's it cost to insure from cyber attacks?
Again, it depends a little bit on a whole range of, the insurer will ask you a whole range of questions. But for a small business, for a low level of cover, to give you something, $250,000, $500,000 worth of cover, you can probably get cover for less than $1,000.
$1,000 for a year.
Ballpark. Yeah. There's a whole range of factors that will influence that, but it could start somewhere around there.
That's pretty scary, really. I've never really thought about cyber attacks and cyber, theft is what it is, isn't it? Absolutely.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
They obviously have no conscience, and they think that they deserve and they have the right to take from other people when they don't have any right at all.
Yep.
It is so wrong.
But those people have always been in the world. They've always been in society. They've moved online like everything else has.
Wow. And over the last 12, 15 months, I suppose you could say, there's been so much online stuff happening and not so much face-to-face happening. I reckon there's a lot more of this going on that people don't even know about.
And it's boomed because you've got people working from home.
And how do you detect if someone is actually in your system?
You may not know.
You find out sometime though, don't you? But you may not know. So how do you protect yourself from that happening or less likely to happen?
So it's about running, so your software company will release patches. So it's about running the patch as soon as it comes out. It's about running the updates for all the various software that you have and making sure that that's all up to date. So there's new releases and those kind of things. So that's all part of the risk management strategy. And before you actually take out an insurance policy, your insurer will want to know all that kind of information from you.
Right. So you have to be vigilant. You have to have the responsibility of making sure you cover yourself. But understanding all that, I mean, I see updates and I think, oh, yeah, I'll do those. I might do them later. I won't do them straight away because, hey, it takes me away from my work or whatever it is. But they are important parts of your maintenance and your security.
Absolutely, they are. It's like a manufacturing business or a manual trades business needs to have a workplace health and safety plan.
Yeah.
This is exactly the same thing. You need to have a maintenance plan in place to make sure that for your computer system, to make sure that those kind of things are up to date and managed properly.
So a risk management plan for that, and it may be a checklist that you check either every day or every week to make sure that everything is as secure as it possibly can be.
Back up your data.
Oh my God.
It's scary.
Oh, that is amazing. I mean, you think of you think of insurance. You think of the different types of insurance, and there are so many of them. So there's life insurances, there's death. Is there death cover insurance?
Yeah,
there's
same thing.
health
insurance.
Health insurance. There's car insurance, there's house insurance, there's public liability, professional indemnity, there's cyber insurance.
Yep.
I'm gobsmacked.
It is a relatively new product in the market, but it's becoming more and more important.
And how do you get that out to people? How do you get them to understand how important that is, regardless of whether you're a big person in the industry, you've got lots of money, or you're an average Joe Blow that is running a small business? How important is it to understand that you need to protect yourself? It doesn't matter the income that you have.
That's right. Yeah, it's they're not always going to pick on the big boys, the big end of town, because they've got the resources and the money to throw at it. So.
And if they picked on, several smaller ones, they could take a lot of money out of different industries or businesses
with much
without and without any detection.
Yep.
That is so scary.
Very.
So guys, when you're running a business, make sure that you do all your updates, you're vigilant with your risk management of everything that you do, back up your data, back up all your systems, make sure you've got everything current so that you can protect yourself as much as possible. I never realised when I asked you to come on and talk, Arch, that insurance could be, I knew there was some diversity to it, but then you've just added another stream to it, which I didn't know anything about. And I reckon there's a lot of people out there in business that don't know anything about it either. So how do you get to educate these people? What is it that you can do?
I would say to people, if you're a business owner and you're looking to cover your business, go and talk to an independent advisor, like an insurance broker or someone along those lines. They'll charge you a fee for it, but you need to have somebody in your corner who can talk you through that process about what you do and don't need. And then more importantly is, if the worst does happen, then they're there to guide you through that process as well.
Yeah. And find someone, I mean, not the first person that you meet, develop a rapport, develop a trust, get to know them, get to like them, get to trust them, and ask questions. Who else have you worked with? What recommendations have you got from people that you've worked with? All that sort of stuff. And that's like any business at all. But insurance is, I'm glad I had you on.
Well, I hope it educates some people, Faye.
Well, I hope so too. And I think it's really important that people understand this. So, yeah. Now, Arch, we're coming to the end of the show, which is a bit of a shame, really. But how can they get in contact with you if they want to have a conversation with you about this?
Probably back through you, Faye, I think. If they If
right.
somebody just needs some advice or want to be pointed in the right direction, maybe just touch base with you, and then we can work it out from there. So it depends a little bit on what their query is as to where we send them and which direction we point them in.
So I can be the conduit that you can then steer to the right places, that which is really important. And I really am just.
I would say, on that, when you find an advisor, trust your instinct. Your instinct will tell you. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't.
Yeah. And I mean, if you get that gut feeling that it doesn't feel right, just walk away from them and go and find somebody else. Yep. And it doesn't matter how many people you speak to, agents or advisors or whatever you speak to, look at their experience, look at, how they react with you and speak to you, and the confidence they have in sharing the information that you need to know.
How responsive are they, and how well do they explain the process that you're about to go through?
Yeah, it's quite a big one, isn't it?
It is, can be.
I think we can bring you back on again and have a little bit more of a conversation about this, because you don't just deal in insurance, you do lots of other things, and it's really important that people get to know, like, and trust those that they are going to be working with. And you do work with your insurance agent. You do work with whomever it is that your financial advisor, your broker, your bank manager. You don't get to talk to them these days. It's a bit like...
Well, can I share a quick story with you?
Yes, very quickly.
One of the places I worked previously had $1 million fire. It was a client of theirs had $1 million fire. And it was a family business. The guy who owned his business had his daughter working in the business, and burnt to the ground. He turns up with his worst nightmare. His staff are all standing out the front. He gets there, the fire brigade are there. His business is in ruins. It's charcoal. It's smoking. It's it's done and dusted. And through his insurance claim, he got rebuilt, and he got the business back up and running. And his daughter became very close with some of the female staff in the office. And she later said, I've only ever seen my dad cry twice. Once was the day of the fire, and once was the day the insurance money came through to rebuild. So put a value on that.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty big. Pretty big. All right. I'm Faye Waterman. This is A Conversation with Faye. I'll be back same time next week. Please keep safe. It is news time now, and then after that it's time for Monday Mash with Sam. So it's bye from me. Wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah,
that was fabulous.
Good. Hope it
Very
helps.